of Jericho. The story of the Walls of Jericho is a powerful tale of faith, obedience, and victory in the face of overwhelming odds. It is found in the book of Joshua in the Old Testament of the Bible. The story begins with the Israelites, led by Joshua, on the verge of entering the Promised Land. They face their first obstacle, the heavily fortified city of Jericho. God gives Joshua a plan for conquering the city. The Israelites are to march around the city once a day for 6 days, with the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant, and on the 7th day they are to march around the city 7 times. Then the priests are to blow their trumpets, and the people are to shout with a great cry, and the walls of the city will fall down. The Israelites obeyed God's plan, and on the 7th day the walls of Jericho fell down, just as God had promised. The Israelites marched into the city and conquered it, taking it as a symbol of God's faithfulness and power. The story of the Walls of Jericho teaches us many important lessons. Here are just a few. Obey God's commands. The Israelites could have doubted God's plan and chosen to ignore it, but instead they obeyed even though it seemed foolish. We too should listen to God's commands, even if they seem strange or difficult. Trust in God's power. The Israelites were vastly outnumbered and outgunned, but they trusted in God's power to deliver them. We too should remember that God is all-powerful and can help us overcome any obstacle we face. God is faithful. The Israelites marched around the city of Jericho once a day for 6 days, with 7 priests carrying 7 trumpets made of ram's horns, walking in front of the Ark of the Covenant. On the 7th day, they marched around the city 7 times, and the priests blew their trumpets. When they completed the 7th circuit, Joshua instructed the people to shout, and the walls of Jericho fell down. The Israelites rushed into the city, defeated its inhabitants, and burned it to the ground. Joshua placed a curse on anyone who tried to rebuild the city, and the ruins of Jericho remained uninhabited for centuries. From this story, we can learn several lessons. Firstly, God is faithful to his promises, and if we trust and obey him, he will deliver us from our troubles. Secondly, obedience is crucial in following God's will. The Israelites had to obey God's specific instructions for the walls to fall. Thirdly, we should not underestimate the power of prayer and worship. The Israelites' march around the city with the trumpets was a form of worship, and God responded by bringing down the walls. Furthermore, the story of the fall of Jericho shows us that God can use unexpected methods to achieve his goals. The Israelites' strategy was unconventional, but it worked because they trusted in God's power. We should learn to trust in God and not rely on our own understanding or methods. Finally, the story of Jericho reminds us that God's plans are always for our good, and even in the midst of difficulties, we can have faith that he will bring us through. Just as the Israelites faced a seemingly insurmountable obstacle, we may encounter challenges in our lives. Still, if we have faith and trust in God, we can overcome anything. In conclusion, the story of the fall of Jericho is a powerful reminder of God's faithfulness and power. It teaches us to trust in him, obey his will, worship him, and not underestimate his methods. We should learn to have faith in God, even in the midst of difficulties, and believe that he will deliver us from our troubles. Let us hold on to the promises of God and follow his ways, for he is the one who can make the walls in our lives fall down.
Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing and sharing with your loved ones.